Hey, what's going on, everybody? Rising Ground Church, Pastor Jamal here. Man, I wanted to jump in real quick, man. I had a thought, so I wanted to share it. I think most people kind of know this in one way or another. Man, spiritual stuff, it has so many layers to it, and um, you can hear something, or you can know something, by being taught, or just by God giving you a revelation at one point in your life. But then, God is so big and so deep and so wide that, God is unmeasurable. So it's amazing how revelation comes in stages and in layers, man. You think you know it one way, you get hit with it another way, and it means something else, and it goes, that's the great and awesome thing about God and about this spiritual life is it's never ending, man. It just keeps going. So specifically, man, you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. This is around. Let me say it like this. I'm the kind of person that I like to get right into it. I don't like to do a lot of people, they explain a message that they have, or they're teaching you something, and they go through all of these I call them dramatics. They go to all of these dramatics, which is fine for the person that has to do it that way, or is called to do it that way. I'm not judging it at all, but I'm like, for me, I can't do it. I have to do it either in a spontaneous situation, or if God is guiding me to do it in a particular way, then maybe so. So I like to get right into it, and I don't like to go through all of these antics, I call them as well, just to explain something. So we talk a lot about Rising Ground Church. We talk about this when we're talking about biblical stuff, the symbolism of what could that symbolize. So the Bible talks about Jesus speaking in parables, and he who has ears to hear, let him hear. What if that could also mean it's pointing you to the experience of even getting revelation or dreams? So you get this download from God, and it comes in a dream, or in a vision, or in an obscure saying. And you get it, and you're like, what in the world is this? What if the story of Christ, of Jesus, talking in parables was just God pointing you to the truth that more times than not, God is feeding you a revelation, or feeding you a directive, or a guidance, trying to get you to see something. I don't even like saying trying. God is getting you to see something through this particular message. Now, I know we can agree and say, well, yeah, we all have dreams, and God has people to help us interpret our dreams, and what is God saying. But I think when we talk about Jesus specifically, I think sometimes we could miss a principle, or we could miss a symbolism, because we're so facing the person that we don't see the principle or the message. And the principle and the message in an obscure saying, or talking in parables. Because I heard this pastor say, he was saying that, which I thought was a great point. If getting God's truth is so important, why would Christ speak in parables? Why would Jesus speak in parables? And I may inject this in here. When you hear me say Jesus, and you hear me say Christ, or I may say Christ, and then I come back with Jesus, because I will have to make the distinction that Jesus was a Christ, an anointed one. We are as well. As God's children, we are Christ if we allow it, if we allow ourselves to be that, an anointed being of God, a representation of God. So if you see that, don't freak it out. But anyway, if the message was so important, why the obscure saying? And don't even try to sift it and try to, because we got wicked people trying to understand things. No. That doesn't even really make sense if you really think about that. If you're having that thought. But if It's so important. Why would we have to sift through all of these things to get the gold nugget, to get the prize, to get the understanding, to get the wisdom? It would, to me, it would have to point to that particular story or that particular experience of Jesus using obscure sayings to give you or to point to a revelation. It would have to mean that the principle is, as we receive understanding from God, as we receive wisdom from God, it's going to most of the time come through a place that is unfamiliar in the moment. Meaning, if it may come through a dream, it may come through a series of scenes in your mind, your imagination, and these things are not how we operate in our day-to-day life. You know, we're used to just, you see a red light, you stop. You see a green light, you go. You know, we're used to living like that. So we have all of that type of living that has conditioned us. So when we get into these dreams and we get into these obscure things that come through our imagination, God is just telling you, this is how I communicate. This is how I communicate a lot of the time. Now, what is your responsibility? Your responsibility as a receiver of the communication is just to allow God the space, the platform to come through. And I think the great thing about this is no, we don't. I know the Bible also talks about a king. It's like a king to search out a matter. I think that could be something else. I don't know, but it's like God is really very simple. The only thing that makes things hard, the only thing that makes revelations difficult, possibly, potentially, is our point of attraction with the revelation. Meaning, if I'm sitting here and I'm in disarray, if I'm in trauma, if I'm in stress, if I'm in worry, if I'm in doubt, if I have a whole lot of anxiety, then I'm going to block it. I'm going to block the transmission. My responsibility is to be in faith, which just simply is in surrender, and allow the knowing that God has you to kind of open up doors so it can actually come through. That's our responsibility, is to be in good courage, to be in gratitude, to be in the fruit of the Spirit. And this allows us and allows God the access point to allow the obscure saying or the revelation to begin to make sense. And once we master that, once we get that, the surrender, just be. And then the things that God are telling you, the things that God is telling you will make more sense, and it'll be more accessible to your understanding. Hope that made sense, man. I wanted to drop in here real quick and drop that on you because I think it's so important. I think it's what we have to understand in this new level that we're going, wherever God is taking this world. We have to be accessible for the truth that God is pouring into us to be visible. Rising Ground Church, man, I'll talk to you. Peace.